Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be Nurgle led by Valnir, facing off against a Vampire Coast who shall be helmed by Anuris here on the spawning pool. And there is going to be some Nurgle artillery versus a ton of Vampire Coast guns. Now, as far as the Nurgle build goes, frontline is going to be basic Marauders, which of course are great against Vampire Coast. They're shielded, relatively high HP pools, well, pretty damn high at 10,000 actually. So they can absorb a lot of that high quality shooting from like the hand cannons and the handguns, get in there and grind and do their job. Now, aside from that, we are going to be seeing the dreaded Nurgle Lord on the Rot Beast. Okay, that is really cool. He's got pretty good stats, 63, 62, so kind of a nice balance of offense and defense, has poison, a good AP, and he's going to be rocking the Icon of Eternal Virulence, and of course does have Cloud of Fly. So when he's in combat, his MD will go up to over 70, which is rad. I love seeing this character though, really would like to see him more in competitive as well. We got the Soul Grinder. Soul Grinder is an excellent choice against Vampire Coast on this map. On a big open map, you probably wouldn't want to because of a cannon. Like a single carronade could just do him in, right? But if you sit and, kind of use the terrain here and like hide in angles, so you're like right here shooting out and you can like rotate between the two objectives, you're going to be able to do some work for sure. On the far side, it's going to be Pesties and some Chaos Warrior Grey Open, so maybe expecting some Depth Guard, but probably honestly just wanted to get some heavier punching units, and having AP does help against Coast to an extent. You want to have a little, in case there's Depth Guard or Crabs, having great weapons can help. So that is pretty much it here for old Valnir, and now looking at the legions of the Vampire Coast, it's going to be an unholy gun line of hand cannons, which I can already foresee these things suffering against a bunch of Furies. So we do have hand cannoneers, bomber mobs in the secondary, handgun mobs, depth guard, pole arms, hand cannons, and not hand cannons, but hand guns, and that's it. So it's just a ton of guns with a single depth guard to protect them, and the Lord is going to be Celastra. So she's probably going to be coming in with the summon as well as Tide Call. So that's the right choice. Good call here. Tide Call is excellent against the cheap kind of lightly armored troopers like Marauders and Pestigors that Nurgle loves to spam in this matchup, so that is good. On the other side, it's going to be a similar composition, but a little bit smaller. We do have a zombie pirate deckhand mobs, got some guns, some hand cannons, more or less the same composition. So Nurgle's going to be surging forward and grabbing the points immediately. And yeah, this is the proper call-in. You see someone bringing a fat gun line, you punish their greed. And as far as Vampire Coast goes, you can defend your gun line against the Furies by spreading out your units and having crossfire. And you can also use Mourngulls. Mourngulls actually kill Furies rather quickly because of their anti-infantry bonus, but I'm not seeing any Mourngulls here, so we will have to see how that unfolds. So Nurgle character squad looking extra epic. We have the Exalted Hero of Nurgle as well as the Chaos Lord. They're going to be circling about face, maybe looking to attack Celastra. We'll have to see. The bombardment going down from the old Soul Grinder. Really nice tech here, and it looks like Vampire Coast does not have a carronade. Maybe a little bit worried about Furies, but a carronade back here. I guess it could put, like, probably if you wanted to go artillery, it would be here. Because you would just play this entire lane right here, right? And you park like a cannon right here or something. It's hard to protect though, man. Furies and Poison Hounds, Nurgle is very good at shutting down those type of things. Pretty much all the Chaos factions are right now, especially with Furies. But I suspect they're going to get a slight nerf. They got overtuned a little bit. I don't think they're too egregious, but I certainly think like a little bit. Like I like that they got a buff and they needed a buff, but they maybe got a little bit too much. But it's not game breaking or anything. You still see them being defeated in SFTs. It's not like they're dominating everybody. So. But Celastra and company is going to be moving up. Valnir going for a surround here. This is a cool looking one right there. You can see the pits as the Furies are going to be taking the long route, using the line of sight they can here with the terrain to come up and over and jump on the handguns before they can really respond. So Valnir is going to be preparing probably a full surround before he decides to alpha strike here. On the other side, a bit of a standoff here. We see the zombies. Uh-oh, guys. It's GG. Calling it here. Aquatic zombies. They're in the water. Finally, the Vampire Coast can use their aquatic trait. Dude, look at them. Let's see. Do they have it? Yeah, they do. See, you can see they have the aquatic. They excel at moving in the water. All right, that's pretty rad. So finally, we're going to be seeing an aquatic battle. A battle of legends, I do say. So on the other side, Chaos Fury's waiting here. Fury's waiting here. Valnir probably has some waiting in the bushes up here too, or in the tree line. He does, so you can see Chaos Fury's hanging out there. And it's going to happen soon. You can see the handguns getting wrecked pretty bad by that single Soul Grinder, man. That thing's doing work. It's already gotten a lot. I don't know since when that guy got accurate, but I guess when your target only has 23 movement speed, it's going to be a lot easier to hit them. And Soul Grinders of Nurgle are most effective at like close range, like not like right in somebody's face, but like this is perfect. At long range, they're a little bit less accurate, but this is like they're pretty consistent in my experience here. So the Nurgle Alpha Strike of the Gods is going to be coming in, and this is going to be pretty damn bad for Vampire Coast here. You see the Nurgle forces surging forward. The handgun mobs are going to get wrecked. Furies have descended on these guns as well. And the Plague God is coming, but Celastra does have some responses. She's going to be calling in the Damned Knights Errant, They're going to be turning about face and getting ready to do a rear charge into the back of these Furies right here. So that will be pretty good. Definitely will help kill these Furies. Not going to be super quick, but it gets rid of them. And Furies are a 600 gold unit. So Vampire Coast, realizing how bad this fight's going, decides to rotate some hand guns over, or hand cannons, bomber mobs, as well as depth guard polearms. And they're no mere depth guard polearms. These are the Bloody Reavers. And what's the calling going to be here? We have Morgul's and Lamprey's Revenge. Okay, a lot of killing power coming. Even though Nurgle does get the better alpha strike and goes up to a good value lead, this position could change as soon as the depth guard and the Leviathans get here. Excuse me, the Rotting Prometheans. Not Leviathans. They're not quite that big. They're trying their best, so let's not make fun of them here. On this side, Vampire Coast is going to be abusing the most overpowered trait in the game, Aquatics, to move forward and pressure objective 2. So we see the hand cannon mob ready to shoot at some of the toads. Depth guard are not the halberd variant, so they could struggle pretty bad against the plague toads here. But there are a couple of the deckhand mobs with polearms here. Maybe that will be able to help. Now back onto this fight here, we do see the summoned cavalry able to kill the Furies and do a little bit of damage here to the Marauders. But ultimately, the handgun mobs are going to be crumbling. Bomber mobs trying to get in position, but the dreaded Furies are going to be swarming all over them, and that is going to be game blouses for that Vampire Coast gun line. So it was a risk. It was a bold strategy, Cotton, bringing that many gun pieces. That's a lot. I think it could have worked better if he spread them out more. They were all like kind of bunched up. Granted, this is one of CA's maps, so it's a lot of like choke points and very tight, so they weren't able to spread out that much. But nonetheless, it could have maybe worked slightly better. Hard to tell. Now, on the other side, we do have Vampire Coast moving up. The Halberds going to be engaging against Pestigores, but they have the Aquatics trait. If they can lure the Nurgle minions into the water where they have the advantage, it will all be over. So this is what you guys want, a little bit of powder shooting from Vampire Coast, so they are able to get some nice handgun shots into the Plague Toads of Nurgle. So those things are getting melted pretty decisively, but Furies are going to be surging over the lost Old One's temple here and coming in to jump on the gun line. But the depth guard now move forward to fight Pestigore. Is not going to be cost effective for these depth guard, that's for sure. They should turn around and do exactly what he's doing right now. Very good play. So they're going to want to go after these. But yeah, Valnir's been an absolute bloodhound this time. He's been swarming all over with these Chaos Furies. So Depth Guard get in. They do have the anti-infantry bonus, which helps. Depth Guard are aquatic too, so they are able to fight a little bit better in the water. And the guns are actually getting the job done over here. They are melting some of the Plague Toads, although these hand cannon mobs just getting wrecked horribly. Now back on the middle, shit's getting a little bit crazy. We do see the Vampire Coast actually counter-push the forces of Nurgle. It looks like a complete massacre over here, but he somehow found a way. And the Morgul's and the Depth Guard polearms, the Bloody Reavers, very nasty, able to push back the Nurgle chaff. And now a bit of a goon squad attempt here. We do see the Chaos Sword of Nurgle, as well as the Exalted Hero of Nurgle, neither of whom do magic damage, mind you, going after Celostra. So it's going to take them a minute, but they could probably get her crumbling here in a second. But here comes the crabs. And Lamprey's Revenge is a bit of a dodgy situation because he's very close to the wall here. And if the crabs are able to get a full surround, their mass is insane. Each crab has 1,500. And if you look at the mass of a Chaos Sword, for example, he has 1,200. So he has less mass than a single crab. So if they get a full surround, they could pin these characters in. And Lamprey's Revenge could probably defeat both of those. They're very, very strong. So Vampire Coast is kind of on the comeback trail here, as Objective 1 is taken. And Objective 3 owned by Vampire Coast as well. Hard pit fighting here on this side. A couple Scurvy Doggos being called in, and the Soul Grinder of Nurgle is more or less out of ammo. I think he's got like one shot left. But he's going to be jumping into melee against these zombie pirate gunnery mobs here and bashing some of those guys. So he's doing the best he possibly can. On the backside here, Scurvy Dog's going to be retreating back and cycle charging into the Plague Toads. Plague Toads do have pretty decent MD for what they are. Armor is not the best, so the doggies can help nibble on them for sure. The Depth Guard are fighting against Pestigores and Plague Toads, two things which are kind of counters to them. But the Pestigores, of course, are not aquatic, so they're going to be suffering here in the water a little bit, which is pretty hilarious to actually see. The Plague Toads of Nurgle are monstrous, so they don't need to worry about fighting in shallow water. But, you know, the Toads could be given aquatic as well. That'd be pretty lore-friendly, I suppose. Nurgle, I'm sure they swim in the fetid swamps of Nurgle's realm. Here we have the Morgul's now coming across to help. Morgul's will be somewhat effective. They have good mass, and they won't suffer against the Pestigores or against the Plague Toads. Another Fury unit going to be shutting down the handgun unit there for Valnir. Very, very nice stuff. And this is where it's getting a little bit dodgy. Okay, so Celostra did get taken down, but it's crabbing time, ladies and gentlemen. So now the crabs have these Nurgle characters trapped against the wall, and that Aspiring Champion is for sure going to die. Yeah, you can see him. He's not in good shape. 400, 300 HP. The Chaos Sword, is he trying to escape or fight? I think at this point, one of the mistakes that might have been made is just not fighting. You just get back and you fight and try and take down as many crabs as you can with these two characters instead of trying to push out. Because their mass is so much better, and there's also a tree, some bushes, a lot of terrain that's very difficult to get past. So this is a very, very big turn of events. This could be a game changer. Otherwise, like if these characters had escaped and been free, I would have probably assumed it's an easy Nurgle victory. But that's a lot to lose, right? This is like 3,000 gold worth, if not more, that you're losing to this one crab unit. So Lamprey's Revenge just going balls deep, and that Chaos Sword does not look like he's going to be able to escape. So Objective 1 is owned by Vampire Coast. Objective 3 also owned by the Vampire Coast, and now we have the dreaded Night Terrors being called out. Oh, but Rot Knights from Valnir. Okay, I'd love to see a game where Rot Knights pay for themselves. And this is actually a good situation for them to an extent. They do have anti-large AP, so they can kill the Nurgles. They also have decent armor piercing, so they can probably handle Depth Guard with the dual-wielding weapons relatively well, as long as the Depth Guard aren't the polearm variant. Here we see the Night Terrors sneaking around the side, maybe going to be coming to try and get a flank on these Rot Knights. The Rot Knights so far have gotten about 800 value, which is very, very good. And the Pestigors of Valnir have made some ground. We see the Scurvy Dogs starting to crumble here as the Night Terrors do attack into the Pestigors on the side, crumbling those bad boys. Definitely need to get the Soul Grinder involved, pull that bad boy back into combat here. It does have a lot of stopping power, and it looks like it's going to be maneuvering back to the middle. Yeah, guys, look, the Chaos Sword literally just cannot escape these Doom Crabs. Their mass is too much, and they have him trapped up. He's fighting. Does he have any form of healing? Yeah, he's getting healed by Children of Nurgle. Value on the Chaos Sword is about 1,000, so, you know, at least he did something before he got put in the old can. And this is a nice call in here by Valnir. Very, very good call. It's going to be the Angels of Decay. So these are the ROR Plague Drones, and they have the Unholy Hand Grenades, which they can use on Nurgles, on big monsters. And it actually does a fair amount of damage. It's no joke. So the Death Heads are going to be popped down on the Nurgles here. You can see a lot of damage going through. These things probably going to start crumbling right now with that damage. A couple Nurgle Marauders going to be trying to maintain some capture weight here, but it looks like Valnir will have an opportunity to get the objective, which he certainly needs because Vampire Coast has passed him here. And yeah, they're no joke, man. Rot Knights, they're not doing bad. I mean, hey, you put them in against a bunch of big, large targets that don't do the most damage in the world, and they get it done. 1,400 here. So the Rot Knights, you know, trying to prove me wrong. I'm always talking about how bad I think they are, but you know, we'll see. They're 1,700 gold, so we'll see if they end up paying for themselves before I draw any conclusions here. But it's cool to see them in action. They're such a badass unit. Yeah, the Bloody Reaver Depth Guard, pretty much a hard counter against Rot Knights. The Rot Knights are going to need to escape here. And on the backside, we do see the Night Terrors. I like this flanking here from the Vampire Coast player, using the Night Terrors to just crush the Nurgle reinforcements. Those Chaos Warriors didn't stand a chance against the Night Terrors, which are an anti-infantry, armor-piercing, healing unit, a specialist against those type of pieces. This objective is owned by Nurgle right now, but Vampire Coast could probably steal that as long as they don't chase off with the Night Terrors. And here we got a couple more zombie deckhand mobs coming in with the guns, and Celastra is back in business. So she is a ghost after all. It actually makes sense that she can come back. And here, look at these things, man. These Angels of Decay, they took down the Nurgle unit, so they've already gotten 1,000 value from their bombards. And now they're going to be taking down Lamprey's Revenge. What a cool tech here by Valnir. You don't see them too often. I think they're kind of slept on in some matchups. But you can't use them in any of the Chaos matchups, really, because Furies just kill them too effectively. But yeah, in this kind of a situation, for sure, Lamprey's Revenge here are getting dunked on by those Unholy Hand Grenades. The Rot Knights are going to be coming across. And the Rot Knights, if the Unholy Hand Grenades didn't get the job done, the Rot Knights for sure would close that one out. And Vampire Coast is contesting or holding this objective. The Rot Knights have arrived. These doggies do have pretty good capture weight. They're going to be sitting here with 4 capture weight against the less capture weight on the Rot Knights because they have lost models and they're a little bit damaged. So this is a really, really good play by the Vampire Coast player. Just parking some doggies here to keep them off. Valnir, excellent targeting with these Angels of Decay, but it needs to go get these doggies away and push them off the objective. Now, objective 3 is owned by the Vampire Coast, and this point is owned by Nurgle just barely. The Night Terrors, he might actually steal it. Yeah, we do see the Bloody Reaver Depth Guard back here as well. How much capture weight does Nurgle have? Nurgle does have the Soul Grinder plus the Pestigors. Oh, we're going to have to see how this one unfolds. Celastra calling in the damn Knights Errant. That's going to be a lot of shock damage. And the thing about Knights Errant, these ghostly units, is they have 100% armor piercing. So it doesn't matter what kind of armor you have, they're going to be piercing it. Fury's going after the gun units, which are kind of undefended, so not really going to be able to do much. They're just going to die. So these expensive handguns going to be paying the troll toll here. And they do rip a couple shots before they go. Maybe the other hand cannon mob should turn and shoot. Not a bad tide call. It does kind of tickle those guys. Probably would be better used against the Pestigors. But if he's able to get these hand cannon mobs to shoot these bats off, that would be a very, very good play. So back on this point, looks like Nurgle's going to be reclaiming this one. The doggies were pushed off the point. Who let the dogs out? Well, the dogs let themselves out as they did flee the point. The Rot Knights, as well as the Nurgle Sorcerer and the Angels of Decay, are going to be holding that one down. You can see the capture weight doggos coming up here for Inuris. They're going to be moving up to try and deny the cap. But the Nurgle Sorcerer plus these units probably going to be enough. And what is that? Miasma and Pestilence. So that will lower their stats, but the main reason Valnir is doing that is just to get the army ability proc. Not army ability, but the lore magic proc to heal his entire army up. That's clearly what he's doing here. So double Furies taking apart the gun units. No surprises. This would have happened even pre-buff. Furies would annihilate these type of units. Like even when they were considered to be a little bit weaker, the same thing would have happened. Those guys would have been dunked on. Objective 2 is owned by Vampire Coast. The Knights Errant causing a lot of havoc. Valnir coming across with Marauders and Pestigors. And now the Knights Errant are gone. So this should yield the advantage for Nurgle now, especially with the Angels of Decay coming across. And I would wager they've gotten easily over 1,500 value. Yeah, 1,700 right there. Very, very nice. But the points are getting a little bit dodgy, honestly. Vampire Coast might be able to pull this one out with a little bit of sneaky play. We'll have to see. Angels of Decay do charge into the back of the Bloody Reaver Depth Guard. Normally would be kind of a risky one, but it looks like there's going to be a Miasma and Pestilence, which is going to be lowering the stats here of the Bloody Reavers. A little Tide Call action, trying to push back the Pesties. But the Pestigor's great weapons in tandem with the Angels of Decay should be able to get the job done. Now, on the point, it is owned by the Vampire Coast. Celestia holding on. Her Night Terror is finally going to be crumbling. Soulgrinders do magic damage in melee, so as far as going after Celestia, that would actually be a very smart play. You might be able to get her to crumble, and Undead don't like losing their leaders, as you would expect. So here, a couple Furies going to be attacking in, just tar pitting onto the Depth Guard. Yeah, those are Depth Guard pole arms. Depth Guard should win that fight, but they're going to take a bit of damage in the process. We'll have to see. Their stats are still pretty good, even without their anti-large. They have 52 melee attack, so they should be making a solid connection with some of these units. We'll have to see. Although, I don't know, so far they're not connecting that well. The poison could be a little bit problematic. Now, intercepting with Rot Knights here is a good play. It's a lot of slow Haggard reinforcements, and Vampire Coast is pretty awful at that. It's definitely one of their weaknesses. At this point, we have about 120 points here, and so it is a triple cap situation, obviously, for the forces of Nurgle. So Rot Knight's getting a good one. They're not excellent at killing these type of units, but they'll still get it done. 4450 for stats. A Chaos Knight unit would kill these things exponentially quicker, but zombies are very weak. Their melee defense is an absolute joke. They actually have 6. So basically these Rot Knights are going to be almost at the maximum chance to hit a unit, which they connect pretty consistently versus them. They get it done. The Depth Guard polearms here fighting against these zombies. And now Valnir is going to be hustling for the home point. But Vampire Coast just needs to Helm's Deep on this point here. And the fact that they already have a Rot Knight chilling there is a pretty big deal. So Angels of Decay going to be going to head off the reinforcements. Rot Knight's doing very, very well, mind you. You can see 2,000 value on them. Say, I'm happy to see them do well. I'll eat my words, man. I still don't think they're a great unit, but it's cool that they found a niche in this matchup and in this particular situation, dealing with like Morngulls and crabs and things like that. So in the back, the old Rot Knights, -3 leadership, so they're hanging in there, but they have that passive regeneration, which is quite nice. So Valnir just needs to get his clutches on this objective, but the sneaky doggo play, guys. This is what can do you in sometimes. Valnir with a pretty massive value lead. Vampire Coast doesn't have a whole lot of healing, so Valnir definitely has the lead right now, but he could lose the game by not noticing little things like this. We'll have to see. Currently, what does he have? He has a Fury call-in. Fury definitely should be going over here, but I don't think he's noticed. Yeah, he's got a Chaos Poison Warhound and a Chaos Fury, but he's super tunnel vision here, which I think is going to cost him the game. Because Valnir probably can get this point. We'll have to see. Yeah, he's got a lot of capture weight, a lot of Pestigors. A really excellent play by him, though, using the Rot Knights. But Inuris is going to get that sneaky Hobbits' plays in, which I think is going to close out the game. Because, let's see if it would have actually mattered. Yeah, I think it might. Because Valnir, if he had maybe sent the Hounds over and some Furies, he could have gotten these guys or some Nurglings out of the Vanguard when he saw the first Hound move. But would it matter? Oh, man, it's close. And I think it would. I think he just lost because of the doggo back cap. Oh, it feels bad, but man. It was that's a really impressive comeback by Vampire Coast because, dude, Vampire Coast was getting absolutely pounded. And Vampire Coast is going to capture this objective and just barely win. That is an insane one. But GG to both players because Valnir crushed him early on military value. Like, that was brutal. He was up by like 3,000 or 4,000. The situation with the Lords getting caught was a big turning point that allowed Vampire Coast to stay in the game. If they had gotten away, it would have been GG probably, like, quickly. So that was a big turning point, and then the sneakiness and the resilience of the Vampire Coast melee, like all the Depth Guard and the monsters. 1,200, 4,600 on Lampreys. My God, that's pretty wild. Oh my God, he's broke him in half. Yeah, savage stuff. Well played, and big shout out to Valnir as well for sending in a loss. Not a lot of people do that, so shout out to you, Valnir. Awesome dude, and it was cool seeing your Rot Knights do well, and the Angels of Decay at 2,800 also. All right, guys, see you around. That's going to be it for today, and hopefully you enjoyed this one. Cheers.